Orpheus and Eurydice. Hymen, the god of the marriage feast, in his robes of saffron, flew from Crete through the measureless sky to the land of the Thracian Cicones. Orpheus was calling the god to his wedding, though all to no purpose. The god attended, for sure, but the ritual words, the joyful faces and omens of favour were sadly missing. Even the torch in his hand kept sputtering smoke, brought tears to the eyes but never ignited, however strongly he waved it. The outcome was even worse than foreshadowed. The newly-wed bride, while taking a stroll through the grass with her band of attendant naiads, suddenly fell down dead, with the fangs of a snake in her ankle. When Orpheus, the Thracian bard, had indulged his grief to the full in the air above, he felt he must also appeal to the shades, and dared to descend to the river Styx through the Tanarian gateway. That should be Tainaran gateway, I suppose. Making his way through the shadowy tribes and the ghosts of the buried, he came to Proserpina, throned beside the Lord of the Shadows, who rules that dismal domain, and plucking the strings of his lyre, he began, "You powers divine of the subterranean kingdom, where all of mortal creation must one day sink to our doom, if you will give me permission to tell you the truth unvarnished by shifty pretenses, I've not come down to explore the murky regions of Tartarus, nor to enchain the three-headed monster Medusa bore, the dog whose coat is bristling with adders. I'm here in search of my wife, cut off in the years of her youth when a viper she trampled discharged its venom inside her ankle. I'd hoped to be able to bear my loss and confess that I tried, but love was too strong. That god is well known in the world above, and I wonder whether you know him here. I divine that you do. If rumour has not invented the tale of that old abduction, you too are united by love. In the name of these confines of fear, in the name of this vast abyss and your realm of infinite silence, I, Orpheus, implore you, unravel the web of my dear Eurydice's early passing. We all are destined for you. We may tarry a little, but sooner or later we speed to our one habitation. This is the place that we are all bound for, our final dwelling, and yours is the longest reign that the human race must endure. Eurydice too, with her due of years has been ripely completed, shall own your sway. Till then I beg you to let me enjoy her. If fate forbids you to show my wife any mercy, I'll never return from Hades myself. You may joy in the deaths of us both." As Orpheus pleaded his cause, enhancing his words with his music, he moved the bloodless spirits to tears. For a moment, Tantalus ceased to clutch the fleeting pool. Ixion's wheel was spellbound, and vultures halted their pecking at Tityos' liver. The Danaans dropped their urns, and Sisyphus sat on his boulder. The Furies' hearts were assuaged by the song, and the story goes that they wept real tears for the very first time. The king and queen of the world below forbore to refuse such a moving appeal, and they summoned Eurydice, leaving the rest of the ghosts who had newly arrived. She slowly trailed along on her wounded ankle. Orpheus was told he could lead her away on one condition: to walk in front and never look back until he had left the vale of Avernus, or else the concession would count for nothing. In deadly silence, the two of them followed the upward slope. The track was steep. It was dark and shrouded in thick black mist. Not far to go now, the exit to earth and the light was ahead. But Orpheus was frightened. His love was falling behind. He was desperate to see her. He turned, and at once she sank back into the dark. She stretched out her arms to him, struggled to feel his hands on her own, but all she was able to catch, poor soul, was the yielding air. And now, as she died for the second time, she never complained that her husband had failed her. What could she complain of, except that he'd loved her? She only uttered her last farewell, so faintly he hardly could hear it. And then she was swept once more to the land of the shadows. Robbed of his wife all over again, poor Orpheus was stunned, like the terrified person who once caught sight of the three-headed hellhound Cerberus chained by the middle neck, and whose fear never left him until his nature had changed and the stone crept over his body. Or poor Lethea, transformed to stone by her pride in her beauty, whose husband Olenus took her offence on himself and hoped to be changed in her place. Two hearts that once were united in love, and now are separate rocks on the stony heights of Mount Ida. Orpheus wanted to cross the Styx for a second time, but his pleas were in vain, and the ferryman pushed him away from the bank. So he sat there in rags for a week, without eating a morsel of food. His anguish, his grief, and his tears were all that kept him alive. Cursing the gods of the dark for their cruel unkindness, he finally took himself back to Rhodope's heights and to windswept Haemus. 3 years went by, with the sun god traversing watery Pisces to mark their ending. Orpheus now would have nothing to do with love of women, perhaps because of his fortune in love, or he may have plighted his troth forever. But scores of women were burning to sleep with the bard, and he suffered the pain. They suffered the pain of rejection. Orpheus even started the practice among the Thracian tribes of turning for love to immature males and of plucking a flower of a boy's brief spring before he has come to his manhood.